Enough of that. Well, I decided, what the hell? Damn the torpedoes, I do a musical intro. And so I'll place that at the very first part. So if they steal the audio, oh well, it'll just be the first part. So anyway. I'm drinking coffee, so watch out. I'm a lot calmer when I drink tea. All right. Time to don the fez. All right. So I have the one with the white tassel today. And, all right. Greetings, fellow citizens. This is Citizen Kong, and welcome to another Fez Night. Excuse me. Should I start over again? No. Oh, yes, I will. Oh, wow. Greetings, fellow citizens. This is Citizen Kong, and welcome to another Fez Night. Tonight's Fez Night should be called Let's Fez. All right. So I got my coffee in my hand. Well, I hope you all had a great New Year. And mine was okay. Let's hope things are better than last year. At least for some of us. Last 2 years. Last 2 years for me. All right, so yeah, I don't even know why I'm doing a Fez Night. Why? Why am I doing a Fez Night? And I keep making these earlier and earlier. So, and excuse the intro, but I thought the song felt significant. I've reached a turning point in my life. You know, New Year and all that. Maybe for some of us that's a turning point. I had the Sunday paper here, but all I got to read, all I really had time, well, I've got plenty of time, but all I could really get myself to read were the funny papers. The comics. Oh, by the way, I figured out how to flip this around. And thank you, Bobo McGraw, for at least letting me know there must be a way. So I kept looking into it, and it's kind of nice that, when I first got my very first computer, what was it, about 11 years ago or something, I paid for QuickTime Pro. And with QuickTime Pro, there's a feature, so I saved this video as a QuickTime, and then I open it up in QuickTime Pro, and I can flip the image, and it happens just like that. There's no long rendering period. So then I can put it into iMovie and go from there. So, in case of any of you out there with Apple's Macintoshes or whatever, who was having that problem that I was having. Who cares, right? All right. So, at one point, Kid Blood said that he liked watching Fez Night to catch up on YouTube gossip. And not that I really have my finger or my pulse on gossip in the YouTube community. All I know is what happens in my little neck of the woods. And face it, you're going to upset somebody if you talk about what's going on, like the neighborhood gossip. You're going to upset somebody. But people find it entertaining. I like to know what's going on in the world, as I do like to know what's going on in my community. So, and sometimes people like having their names mentioned. So let's start off by mentioning L. Brookman. L. Brookman, that was quite a video you posted, the Drunken Post. Riley says, oh no, he wasn't drunk. He's just good acting. I think you were totally buzzed. You could just tell by the eyes and your speech. I don't think even Foster Brooks couldn't do that good of a gag. In case of some of you are too young to remember Foster Brooks, he was a man that made a career out of appearing drunk. In stand-up comic, and I guess in films too, television, and but the man was not a drunk. He just, from what I understand, I guess he didn't even drink. I don't know. And L. Brookman was lamenting on how he'd asked people to sing his theme song. I was thinking about giving it a go, but you don't want me to sing your theme song. you imagine if I came up with a Citizen Kong theme song and I'm going, yeah, Citizen Kong is the greatest, yeah. He's everything, he's the top, he's the king of the hill. You imagine that? Kind of like L. Brookman is the champ. All right, you can steal that. I don't know, maybe it's a liberal thing or a democratic thing or something, but I'll toot my own horn, but in a much more subtle way. I think it's subtle. Maybe not so directly. I was brought up in that modest Protestant way to not toot your own horn, but I found that in this world sometimes other people won't toot your horn for you. And that's no, and Pops, that's no, innuendo. I know where your mind goes. Oh, did I mention Pops? Hey, what's up with Pop Art Productions, man? There hasn't been anything coming out on that channel in a while. Could be something be amiss. Yeah, next it'll be a Tommy Two Guns will go silent. You'll need a new channel, Pops. So let's see. Boondang Bear and John. Hey, look, I have notes this time. Yeah. Boondang Bear and John. Hey, I'll tell you, John's Wacky World. I think that your Crazy Park Bench Dudes channel, I pretty much enjoy those videos. Pretty much, I said. I think you two have some great chemistry. And poor John, I've been picking on him because John just loves doing these, in the slapstick comedy, they're referred to as pratfalls. And if it's done well, like on the introduction to the Dick Van Dyke Show, it can be amusing. Slapstick is funny. And but John, you're just terrible at it. So maybe it's so bad that it is funny. And so I'm not telling you, all right, I was being critical. Maybe I was telling you not to do that. But go ahead, do it. I was just pointing out, it's just so bad. It's so like, you can so see it coming. You'll fall down and there's no reason to fall down. And, but I'll tell you what the funniest thing that I get out of the Crazy Park Bench Dudes is when John is just off on this just weird thing, doing his thing. And Boondang Bear, who I like to call Mr. Bear, looks into the camera with that classic, like, I can't believe he's doing this. I mean, you have it down. You have it like Oliver Hardy, I mean, to make the comparison, there's sort of a Laurel and Hardy thing going on. And you just look into the camera and you just go. I think it's great. And John, I don't know where John, while I've been really annoyed with him because I don't know when this started, maybe 6 months back or something. L. Brookman would be taking digs at me, and that's fine. I can handle L. Brookman one-on-one. But John comes in there, like behind the other guy, yeah, you get him, and then taking little snipes at me. And I've got nobody behind me cheering me on, and I'm like, John, don't stick your nose in this, And you think you're being funny. I guess you went over to Eileen's page and said, oh, you created that new channel that's supposed to be your dog, Max Peabody. And you said, Kong doesn't like it when I hump his leg. John, is there anybody out there that likes having a dog hump their leg? Do you? Do you enjoy Max Peabody? I really don't even like your dog's name. My middle name is Max, Mr. Peabody. Do you enjoy having Mr. Peabody hump your leg? Who out there does? If you ever meet anybody that the dog's humping their leg and they seem to be enjoying it, get away. Run away as fast as you can. All right. Oh, and I got a PM from Nebbish Nose. Apparently, Nebbish Nose is very, very upset with me and would like to see me leave YouTube entirely. Well, let's just say for now, I'm not going anywhere, okay? I don't know if anybody ever visits Nebbish's Nose channel. Whoever this is, it's just the insane babblings I mean, this is redundant, but the insane babblings of a madman. All right, should I just say the babblings of a madman? Somebody who's not quite right, who just goes on with these grammatical errors and obviously misspelled words. And it's not so much the grammatical errors and the misspelled words, because sometimes even somebody that misspells words, you can still see the content. It was funny. He was just going on and on and on about Al Capone, how he was going to make this whole series about the local history around East Cedar Lake about Al Capone. And then he was saying like, oh, and he was dissing Monk's little videos, which Monk isn't even trying. He's just walking around Chicago with a flip cam, okay? Takes pictures of the train or whatever, walking down the street. I mean, obviously, it's just like a throwaway, you know? And, and he posts a lot of them, and I'll watch every few of them, but, he'd be the first to say they're not anything awesome, but they're just interesting because some of us have never been to Chicago. I never have. And it sort of gives you an opportunity to see some of the scenery. And I've done similar videos, drive to the store, walk to the park, skateboard to the park, and for people that live where they don't have palm trees. Personally, I'm not really crazy about palm trees, They don't really provide shade. They don't really do anything. And, they don't really give us anything. And they mess up the sidewalks. Oh, especially those date palms. They drop these like little orange, unripened date. I guess I was told they were dates. They don't look like dates to me. And those things are they're like large, soft marbles. If you walk across like a bunch of them on the sidewalk, you can fall. And they really, really suck. It stops a skateboard just dead in its tracks. I mean, rocks are less of a hazard than those date things. But anyway, you might live someplace where you don't have date palm trees or date palms. And so Nebish is just going on and on about how his videos about Cedar Lake and the history of Al Capone and his vacationing there and everything is going to just blow away anything Monk does. And I blocked Nebish and he blocked me back because I finally had enough of it. The guy will just fill up my page with his comments. Oh, speaking of which, let me just mention really quick, I try to stay away from lowbrow humor, but come on. We all laugh at farts. You won't see any farting on Fez Night, though. But we all do now and then laugh at that sort of thing. And I'll just say, please don't fill my entire page with comments, okay? Try to give, one or two in a row, just don't overdo it, okay? And that's kind of what I ask of most people, unless there's a real fight going on. That's kind of different, depending on the fight, though. So, where was I? Oh, yeah, getting back to Nebish. So, yeah, excuse me. I have to blow my nose, sorry. All right, I'm back. So, yeah, Nebish was just filling my comment section with raving. So, I blocked him, he blocked me back. He's blocked the Royal Order of the Fez, so I can't comment over there with that. But that's the one he sent me the PM through, the Royal Order of the Fez. And I was going to respond to it, and I kept trying to respond, and then I realized, oh, I'm blocked. So anyway, and then where are all these videos you promised, huh? All the history you're going to tell us about Al Capone because you're such an expert on Al Capone. Where are they? See, it's all talk. The guy just talks and talks and talks, but there's no substance. And yeah, I'm annoyed by him. Especially sending me that PM. It was not very nice. I tell you, Nebish, tell me how you really feel. So, and then next he's going on this like tirade about Apple, Macintosh versus all the rest of them. And I don't really care. I mean, I started out with a Macintosh, never saw any reason to change. I know the majority of the world uses Macintosh. And he cites all these reasons why it fails and everything. Whatever. You're not going to change anybody's mind, especially coming from you. As I said, the babblings of an insane mind. We like what we have. We like what we're used to. One thing I didn't see you cover, though, were viruses. And not because the OS is any by any means superior, but it's like, what is it? 90% of the world uses some sort of Windows application. And so when people are creating viruses, what are they going to do? They're going to target 10%? No. Oh, another conspiracy thing. He says all the viruses for Windows are created by Mac users or hackers that use Mac. I don't know. Sounds like more ravings of an insane person. Sure, you get more bang for your buck, but my cousin, who's a computer scientist, and my Uncle Walker, who was a physicist, whatever. My last name's out there anyway. What can you do to me now? Pops made sure of that. Kept dropping it and dropping it. Other people knew my last name. And every now and then I was under attack, people would post my last name on the internet. But Pops really made sure it got out there. Yeah. Thank you, Pops. So anyway, both those men were Macintosh users. And I was buying my first computer, and I took their advice, more or less. Well, my uncle really didn't. I just knew he used one. And I thought, well, if he's a physicist, and he likes them. And so my cousin, who's a computer scientist, likened it to, a Windows, typical Windows computer, like a Dell or something like that, or a Gateway or something like that, is like buying a Chevy with a really big, engine in it, like a muscle car. And sure, you can get, back in the day when I was shopping a computer, you could get a lot more bang for your buck, with this, big engine dropped in a Chevy body. But see, I've never been a Chevy or a muscle car fan. It's not, to me, all about strictly performance. It's nice if it's put into a nicely crafted machine. Not a Chevy, but perhaps a Jaguar or a Porsche. You take a nice Porsche, okay? It doesn't have the engine displacement of any muscle car, but it's small, it's sleek, it's beautiful. And it doesn't need some big friggin' V8 in there, And so it's all a matter of taste, the sophistication. And that's what he likened it to, more or less, Apple computers, from what I've seen, it's hard to find used ones because they just, people just hold on to them. They keep going and going and going, Of course, my last one took a dump. I think I happened to get a bad model on that. But it did last longer than I can honestly say, one person that bought a Dell, the same Dell laptop, the same time I bought my laptop. And this is just anecdotal. There's no big, scientific proof or anything or big survey. But it's just anecdotal. We bought our laptops right around the same time. Within 6 months, his was dead. And it was hardware problems. It wasn't the OS. It wasn't the operating system. It was a hardware problem. The hard drive crashed or whatever. Through a widget. I don't know. A thingamabob went. A doohickey broke. So we had to get another one. I think that thing was still under warranty, but I had my iBook for years after we had to replace that Dell. So I mean, there's no science to it. Anyways, everybody's got their favorite thing, and I just happen to be started out with Macintosh, and I'm not changing. So there. I don't even know why it bothered me. I was just looking at it, and it just goes on and on and on and on, and there's no. Since he's blocked me, there's no opportunity for counterpoint. Not that I would have. Anyway, I mean, it's silly to argue over something like that, I think. And just let me mention Timmy really quick. I noticed Timmy has become a lot less mean-spirited and trying to go back towards his humor. There was that, he had made that vagina puppet, which I'll have to admit, the first couple times I saw that was pretty creative. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that on YouTube or anywhere else. So I have to say, Timmy, that was pretty creative. You do get pretty creative with your homemade puppets, But you'll take a joke and you'll just run it into the ground. And that was very disrespectful of a friend of mine, Kool-Aid Girl. And I remember how he used to say, oh yeah, you men are so awful, you know, how you attack women and everything. You remember that, you know? You know, some of the stuff with the trolls and, you know, how, you know, women are sort of, you know, need a pass because, you know, they're women, you know? And, but boy, man, you really went after Kool-Aid Girl. And yeah, you threatened, you know, you said that she was slandering you and that you were going to serve papers on her, but since she's too far away, you were going to serve the papers on me just to waste my time. You remember that? And then you say you don't watch my videos or watch our videos or anything. And then somehow you hear about this. So what is it, your, you know, the people that you work for out there, you know, watch my videos and then pass the memo on to you? Is that how it works? Because somehow if you're not reading the comments and you're not watching the videos, then you still learn about these things and it comes back to us. But I have to say, I'm glad to see you being less mean-spirited. You know, getting back to your humor, getting back to being funny. You know, but making 20 videos about the same joke, you kind of run it into the ground a little bit, don't you think? All right, so I guess that's it. That's it for my little YouTube gossip corner with Citizen Khan. Because some of you like that. And if you don't like it, blame Kid Blood. There's a person on YouTube named, his channel name is Imitator777. And I first met him because my very first video on YouTube was about Michael Savage, radio talk show host. You know, he's like a right-wing, but he's like so like out there weird, like libertarian right-wing or whatever. I wouldn't exactly call him a Republican because he doesn't call himself Republican. It's kind of a, some of you know who Mike Savage is. This guy used to really get under my skin. I would listen to him on the radio driving home from work, and I would just come home all just worked up, and YouTube was my first outlet for that. Besides, you know, bending somebody's ear, you know. Oh, did you hear what Mike Savage said? He's so stupid, you know. So anyway, Imitator77 is a Michael Savage fan, and he posts clips, you know, audio clips from Michael Savage's show. And when I first met him, yes, we were really at odds. I mean, we would really fight and fight. Excuse me again. But eventually we became friends, sort of like an understanding. You're not going to change my mind, I'm not going to change yours. And in fact, he would send me his videos, and correct me if I'm wrong, Imitator77, but it seems to me you like having me comment on your videos because I get into fights with people, and then that drives your comments, drives your comments up. And you know how when people say no offense? Yeah, really, you mean offense. So I'm going to say, no offense, man, but the people that comment on your videos, I mean, the ones that are Michael Savage fans, it's no use arguing with them. I never get any good intellectual arguments. I can't think of one from those people that go to your channel. Remember, I first started watching Michael Savage videos on, oh, I'm sorry, he's one of the first friends that I met on YouTube, and he promoted my channel a lot. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let's see if I can find him real quick. He was one of my first ones. Oh, DRSNK. Sorry, man, but it's just letters. It's hard for me to remember. DRSNK posted a lot of Michael Savage videos, and you know, he was pretty cool about our being in opposition to each other about it. I mean, he never called me names, and he never was really, he was always a gentleman. And that's later how I met Imitator77. And after a while, Imitator77 was never abusive either, but it took quite a while, you know, and then we were friends. And so what's my point of this? Yes, a year ago, 1 year ago, at least according to YouTube, the little thing there, I left a comment on a video that Michael Savage did about a woman he calls Robin of Berkeley, or Robin from Berkeley, or Robin of Berkeley. And supposedly this is a woman that was a lifelong liberal and listened to one of his shows and became a convert. Ceased being a liberal and became a convert. And wrote something about it. Michael Savage read her letter, and then later, I understand, even interviewed her. Well, when I was on that page, I challenged the idea. I said, this person isn't real. Michael Savage has made this up, you know, like how some phony journalists have done in the past, you know, to create a story, to make a story, you know, and basically a work of fiction. Oh man, I got attacked on that. Eventually though, you know me, I like to have the last word. Eventually it all kind of went away. I forgot what happened. But a year later, this guy that calls himself Big Boss, which is funny. See, for me, I could have called my channel King Kong something. No, but I chose Citizen Kong, you know? Not the king, a citizen like the rest of us, you know? I mean, this whole thing about calling you Big Boss, I don't know. I think it says something about a person's ego. Don't you think? So let me see if I can look up this guy's channel name. Sorry, it's once again being ill-prepared. But let's see, how do we do this? So, this Big Boss guy, I ended up getting in a big fight with him. And it's just back and forth, back and forth. Excuse me, this was going on for, I mean, I would take a couple days break, you know, and then go back to it. I think maybe he was going to give up. Maybe he thought I would have went away, and then I would leave a comment. Yeah, he calls himself Big Boss 686. And he's not a troll because he does make videos, but he makes videos of himself working out. Like, here's a video of me doing push-ups. Here's a video of me doing chin-ups, you know, without a shirt on. And I kind of teased him. I said, well, I think that appeals to a gay demographic, don't you think? And then he claimed that I was homophobic. Come on, I'm not being homophobic. I'm just saying gay men like to watch videos of other men working out. Come on, you know, not all gay men do, but that sort of fits in the demographic. I know straight men. Why would a straight man want to look at a man covered in sweat, you know, lifting weights? Any straight men out there like that? Really? So anyway, hey, just like straight men would like to watch a woman work out, getting all sweaty, and if it's a sweaty woman, you just go like, hey, you're appealing to a straight male demographic, right? Right? Is there like heterophobia about that? So, so anyway, I mean, that was one of the, this after he worked me up, though. After he kind of got me really wound up, I finally went to his channel. But it's this idea of, and I didn't get any real valid debate from him. Basically, unless you want to make a video for yourself, Big Boss, I put the challenge out there. I finally told him, put up or shut up, make a video, because this is going on long enough. And I told him, if you make a video, I'll post a response to it, which I rarely do. And even to some like person that puts out 4 videos of himself working out, you know, there's more important people on YouTube that I could do video responses to. But sure, I put it out there. I said the burden of proof that this woman really exists is on Michael Savage, okay? Because then he said, oh no, you're just paranoid. He kept calling me dummy. Every comment he wrote, he called me dummy. And I don't think there was anywhere where I was sounding stupid. I really don't. And he claimed that my comments were wrought with misspellings. I did have one typo. I meant to say skills, and I left the S off, and I said kills. And that's the only example you keep going back to. I go, that's a typo. There's no consistencies in my misspellings. Why should I even have to defend myself on that? I don't know. But because that's what people do when they're losing an argument. They try to divert the thing. Now, sure, I pick on people for their grammatical errors and stuff, and usually this is just some petty argument, you know. But I pick on their content, you know, and then after a while I just go, you know, come on, you're just giving yourself away with this constant, You know, it's not a now and again thing. When a person's constantly using grammatical errors and constant misspellings, then you kind of have to wonder. Like, come on, you know? I said kills instead of skills. The one time. So, he was just saying I was paranoid, that this person has a right to their privacy. So I understand, okay? But what kind of convert is this? Went from a liberal to conservative and is not ready to stand up and be counted. There are plenty of liberals that turned into conservatives after 9/11, and they were public about it. And then he says, oh, well, her career would hurt her because she's a therapist. I thought she was a college professor because they were like, you know, so-and-so at Berkeley. Well, there's that Wu guy. What's his name? Wu? The guy, the torture memo dude? He's a Berkeley professor, and they're not like running him out of there on a rail. And then, okay, so she's a therapist, so she's the only conservative therapist in Berkeley. Do you think she's going to be short on clients? Really? I mean, Dr. Phil likes having publicity. Dr. Laura, you know, all those like, you know, radio talk show therapists, you know. How could publicity help a therapy practice? Okay, there's no valid reason for it. I say that this person does not exist. And then he kept saying, no, prove that she doesn't exist. Well, this comes down to one of those philosophical things. You cannot prove that something doesn't exist, okay? You can only prove that it does, all right? So it's a given that I don't believe Santa Claus exists, all right? But I can't prove that he doesn't, okay? And when somebody offers proofs that he does, there you go. Anyway, there's something we just have to just accept. There's no Santa Claus, you know? And, you know, that's what we believe, but it's not a fact. And just like the Bigfoot, I cited Bigfoot. If somebody says that there is a Bigfoot, I say prove it. But if somebody says there isn't a Bigfoot, how can you prove it? How can you prove that nowhere in this universe, nowhere, there's no Bigfoot? You know, you can't prove that something doesn't exist. And so, and don't get me into the atheist God. Well, why not? Okay. So, the burden of proof is on if you're going to prove there is a God or isn't a God, the burden of proof is on the theologian, the theists, okay? Because you have to prove that he exists. The atheist can never prove that he doesn't, okay? But of course, the theists, so far, can't offer any tangible proof that would satisfy an atheist. So, you know, they're at odds. It's a toss-up. You know? I mean, you can believe that he doesn't exist. And then the other side's like, I believe he does. So it just comes down to a belief on both sides. So, anyway, I'm saying the burden of proof, don't go asking me to prove she doesn't exist. I mean, I can't do that. You know? The onus, which is a word I like, is on Michael Savage. Or you know? And just go away. And he kept going off on all these sidetracks that I'm paranoid, I'm a dummy, I'm stupid, blah, blah, blah. I think I finally got him to shut up, I guess. I don't know. I haven't gone back there, but I know he was responding because I get the emails from YouTube. But he's been quiet. After I just kept saying, put up or shut up, make a video. Just do it. Put it out on the public forum, you know. Let's have a public debate about this. Instead of running Imitator 77's comment section, running it up. Oh. All right. This is a funny story. I mean, I like the picture here. Here's another Japanese man obsessed with Elvis. He has a vintage store in Los Angeles. Yeah, I'm just going to look through the headlines here. Travel section, arts and books. The business section has like this graphs on what went wrong with the housing market. Yeah, what went wrong? Here's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, there was a man that I said, come on, that's all we need is another actor in politics. Of course, what's his name? The guy on 30 Rock. Why don't you run? I'll vote for you. Alec Baldwin. Anyway, turns out that this whole thing, I don't know if outside of California you remember this, but there was this Republican senator, I think, Darrell Issa, who, in my opinion, is a major a-hole, decided that he could start a ballot measure, petition to oust Gray Davis, who was the governor at the time, because he thought he was going to run for governor and win. Well, little did he know when he basically opened a can of worms, and you had like hundreds of people. In fact, one of my cousins, who I've never met, but I know, one of my cousins who lives in Los Angeles, he ran. He ran as like this cowboy dude, dressed entirely in blue, wearing a blue cowboy hat. That's because he's from New Mexico, like I am. And he's a distant cousin. He's basically the son of a cousin. I don't know what that is, but I don't know how that family tree works. But one of my cousins had a son. Because my dad was so old, all my cousins were like adults when I was like a little kid. So anyway, yeah, his son ran for governor. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger ended up winning. And I said, the man's just going to fold in like a cheap suit. Well, no, he kept up appearances. But in the end, all he offered us was entertainment. Nothing tangible, California got much worse under his. And you could probably say, oh, the things were in place with Gray Davis. But at least Gray Davis, it was happening under Gray Davis's watch. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger had to pick up the pieces. I don't know. I just think that this whole Darrell Issa is a scumbag. Gray Davis was elected and should have been allowed to finish his term. He knew about what was going on a lot more than Arnie. Arnie remember he was campaigning at a broom? I'm going to go and clean house. I'm going to clean house in Sacramento. Oh, Maria. I'll wait in the Humvee. I'm going to go smoke a cigar in my tent. Stupid Arnold Schwarzenegger. The only movie I can think of that I really enjoyed by him is Total Recall. And that's not because he was in it. I really don't like his movies. Oh, and The Terminator. But it's not because of him. Those are just good movies, well-written, interesting action movies. I think they could have easily cast somebody else, and it probably would have been better. Oh, so anyway, I wrote down here the last thing to talk about was consumerism. I don't know what to say. I guess after the holidays and everything, I've been learning to live on a lot less, and I think it's been a good lesson for me. I'm actually cooking a lot for myself, a lot more simple things like, eggs and potatoes and stuff, and making sandwiches. But that's a hell of a lot more than what I used to do. I used to just live on fast food or if I was, or better dining, go to an actual sit-down restaurant, Boy, I wasted a lot of money over the years doing that. So, and actually, in some ways, I'm eating better. In some ways. I was working for this guy. Happens to be Jewish. I did work for a Jew. For all you Jew haters out there. I really liked this guy. He was good. He was a really good boss. I mean, we had our problems, but I liked him because I liked him. And it was a painting decorating service. And so I got a chance to see the interiors of some really, really nice homes. That I normally wouldn't have been inside, I mean, I've been in a few nice homes. I made some friends when I was in the art metal deal and visited some nice homes, and that was invited, But this is a case where I'd go and paint walls or, and get to see the house, get to see inside closets and things like that. So anyway, God, I used to think, boy, about this divide between the haves and have-nots. I remember I was a McMansion. Those are terrible, terrible things. And one thing, I guess, by the collapse of the housing market is maybe we learned something about that. Maybe people will finally just appreciate that I don't know. Are we going to learn any lessons from it? I don't know. I hope I do. Not that I ever bought a McMansion, but those things are just god-awful. I mean, they're like a shrunken mansion. I remember walking into this foyer with it was almost a 2.5-story ceiling. You look up, it's almost 2.5 stories. Because, and the whole thing fits on a tiny little lot, I mean, the lot is probably smaller than the house we had in my hometown in New Mexico. And I remember this little girl's room we were painting. I mean, she couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 years old. Her closet was about as big as my bedroom. Didn't have any windows though. So I guess my bedroom's better. At least I have windows. I mean, this thing was huge. Oh man, you know. And we worked on older homes too. But this one that comes to mind was a McMansion in a gated community, which is another thing that's just wrong in this world. Talk about the divide between the have and have-nots. Is like the haves are like enclosing into the little safe sanctuary to keep to keep the riffraff out. And what does that say about America? That's not about being free, you know. I mean, I should be able to walk down any street in America, don't you think? But no, not in a gated community. You just can't be like walking down the street. And I mean, if you're like, you know, some rich person, which mostly I'll, you know, say like, I'm guessing like, you know, Republican conservatives. It's like they believe in law and order, and like, you know, those people, I have mine, I'm going to hold on to it, and I'll do anything to do, you know. I don't know. Doesn't it seem sort of wrong, though, America would be like that, you know? I was trying to remember the name of the other day of the man who wrote, well, I can't remember now, so I shouldn't even talk about it. But Woody Guthrie, I can't think of the man who wrote the other song. I was talking to somebody and I should have looked this up. But Woody Guthrie wrote a song, and he was like a Depression-era musician, songwriter, who rode the rails and saw America like, you know, Depression-era, you know. Was one of those people that was sort of like you'd see in The Grapes of Wrath, you know. And he saw that. He lived with these people. And he wrote that song, This Land Is Your Land, This Land Is My Land. This land is your land, this land is my land, which is sort of a, it's sort of the other side of America, sort of an anthem for that other one. I mean, actually, I think that should be probably a real national anthem. But of course, the haves would not agree with that philosophy. Irving Berlin, I finally remembered. Irving Berlin, I guess, wrote America the Beautiful, Four Amber Waves of Space. I could look it up real quick, but I don't want to waste your time. But anyway, there's two opposing songs. There's the Irving Berlin, you know, patriotic song about America, which is not about so much about sharing, you know, of this land, that it's all of our land, where Woody Guthrie sang about that, more of a man of the people. Irving Berlin appealed to more of the haves, you know, the rich on the East Coast, New York City. And Woody Guthrie, he stood for the rest of us in the Midwest, wherever the rails took us. So I guess after Christmas being, and you know how I feel about Christmas, is that it's just this, you know, excuse for mass consumerism. I think everybody should, oh yeah, well look at you, you're poor, so you want everybody else to be poor. But don't you think we all got in this mess a little bit about that? About not, you know, forgetting what our grandparents learned? My father, who was old enough to be my grandfather, he was a young man during the Depression. I grew up with hearing stories about what it was like. So don't you think we forgot about the lessons that were learned? I know I didn't. I know I did. I didn't pay attention to my dad, you know, about as far as putting money away. I thought the good times were going to last, you know, as foolish as I was. So, anyway, that's what I wrote down. I wrote something about consumerism. Thought I would end on that note. All right, everybody. Have a great week. Thanks for watching this other long Fez Night, because I was drinking coffee. All right, everybody. Have a great week. Bye. Whoops. Have a great week. Bye. Now how do I turn this thing off?